Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm pleased to speak on part 2 of this bill. And this is really the guts or some of the core provisions in terms of the new risk management approach under the food bill, sir. And I want to, we know what those measures are, and as the Minister has explained earlier, there's a sliding scale of measures which food businesses will have to comply with based on whether they're perceived, in terms of whether they are high risk, based on the type of foods that they produce. And so at its most fundamental level, sir, there are the food control plans, of which there are 2 types. The template plan, which I'm sure will be very helpful for those particular industries which fall within that category, right through to individualised plans, and then it cascades through to other measures such as the national programs and monitor programs, and a lot of that detail, sir, will be implemented by way of regulations once the Act has come into force. But, sir, I wanted to focus on at the very most basic level, and this is not even about food businesses, but it's just around the food handler guidance that is also promoted through this legislation, sir, because this piece of legislation impacts on all the food businesses, and but it also especially applies to Māori and maraes. And I know that maraes are the heartbeat of the hapu, of the particular community or hapu that they represent, or whānau. And it is the actual engine room of the marae complex. It's not actually the big house. It's not actually the whare tupuna. The actual engine room of the marae is the whare kai. It's the dining room, because from that whare kai emanates all of the orders that go round to all the different parts of the marae, including the big house. So when kai is served, those orders go out, and you know they have to listen to the cooks in the kitchen. So in terms of the way that the marae operates, this bill does have potential implications because a lot of maraes around the country are actually becoming. They do have aspirations to trade in food. They do have aspirations to perhaps set up cafes, restaurants, and this bill definitely will help. And I do, at its most basic level, there is the Kai Manawa Order program, which has been promoted by the former Food Safety Authority. A very sensible program which provides good guidance to marae in terms of proper handling. Look, a lot of it is, especially when you talk to our old aunties, is, they'll get quite offended if you actually tell them what, food handling or food safety standards are. They've been doing it, mai rano, as we say, for a long, long time. But it is good that these measures are being promoted to Māori, and there is the pathway that they can follow to indeed become food businesses, to trade in food, and to comply with the relevant food control plans, sir. And so this is a good part. This is the guts of the legislation. It's about risk management, as opposed to, as I mentioned earlier, the old hygiene regulations, which were more worried about the fixtures and the fittings and what was on the walls and what was on the floors and what was up in the air ducts. All of those are basically irrelevant with the passing of this legislation, because everything will be based around the process of the whole handling of the kai, of the food, right through its production to the end product and to ultimately the consumer. Because as I mentioned, sir, the whare kai is the actual engine room of the marae, and as Māori we know that the mana of the hapu, of the whānau, is very much determined by the quality of the food, of the feast that is actually put on for the guests. And Mr. Chair.
Reno Turakatni.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, because it is very exciting that our kuias and our ringawetas around the motu, and there are hundreds of marae, sir. We know that there are many food businesses, but there are equally hundreds of marae around the country with their caterers in the kitchen that potentially will have they are covered within the ambit of this legislation, sir. So we know that how important it is. The mana of the marae is based on the quality of the kai, and the worst thing that could happen, sir, to any marae would be if the manuhiri got crook after eating the hakari. And unfortunately, I've been the victim of such an occurrence, and I won't name the marae. I won't name anywhere even close to where it is, the geographic proximity. But I can tell you, sir, it was not pleasant. It was not pleasant for me and for many other whānau that attended that particular hui. But, sir, that is the very reason why we need to have this legislation in place. We need to have this legislation which provides the full gambit of all food suppliers, food businesses, food purveyors in this, right across the country from all levels, working under some much more user-friendly food safety risk management-based frameworks. And that applies, as I mentioned, right from the marae, wharekai, through to the coffee cart, through to the cottage cheese maker, right through to the big industrial export processor. Because I did want to touch on the fact, sir, that this bill, the food sector in general, is critically important to the economy of our country. And I cannot stress that enough, sir. And Māori in particular are major stakeholders in the food production sectors of our country. We only need to look at the agribusiness sector, sheep and beef, dairy production, seafood, fisheries, aquaculture, horticulture, viticulture, you name it. Māori are major players. I know there are many, many successful, actually industry-leading organisations around the country who are doing wonderful things in terms of producing food, employing people in the regions, and earning good foreign exchange dollars through the exports of their fine produce. And so it's great that this legislation can be in place so that they have a much more user-friendly regime to be able to work under, and that will ultimately see the increase in export returns and ultimately the increase in the standard of living that we want for across all of the country, sir. And so it is vitally important for Māori, but we know, sir, that there are many, many hundreds, if not thousands, of food premises, of food businesses, many, many people that rely on the food industry for employment, and likewise the significant, over half of our export value as a country, of our export returns, come from food production and food exports. So this is a very, very significant piece of legislation. It has taken a long time to actually get to this point, but it has, as I mentioned yesterday, good things take time, as the Mainland Cheese ad says. But it is true that this is a very, very good measure in this part too, because having the sliding scale, having the range of different plans that businesses will have certainty that they know that they operate under, or a means by which that can be determined, is really the central aspect to the risk management approach, and I do commend this part too. Kia ora.
Shane Arden.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the question be now put.
The question is that the question be now put. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. So, party votes called for. Ask the clerk for a party vote.
New Zealand National.
59 votes in favour.
New Zealand Labour.
34 votes opposed.
Green Party.
14 votes opposed.
New Zealand First.
7 votes opposed.
Maori Party.
3 votes in favour.
Mana.
1 vote opposed.
ACT New Zealand.
1 vote in favour.
United Future.
1 vote in favour.
Brendan Horan. Any other votes?
Members, the ayes are 64, the noes are 56. The question will be put. The question is a Part 2 stand part. Those of that opinion will say aye. To the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Members, we now move to Part 3. This is debate on clauses 97 to 122. The question is a Part 3 stand part. Reno Cherukardini.
Well, thank you, Mr Chair, and we're now moving on to